Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. India is powered by another AI, that is Aspirational India, says Prime Minister Modi at the NDTV World Summit 2024 in New Delhi. India, Brazil and African countries should be represented in the UNSC, says Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov ahead of the 16th BRICS summit in Kazan. Israel destroys Bekaa branch of Hezbollah finance arm. 8 trucks make way from Israel to Gaza Strip through the Erez crossing. And Kamala Harris visits a church in Georgia on her 60th birthday, while Donald Trump hands out French fries in Pennsylvania. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century, in New Delhi today. Speaking at the summit, the Prime Minister said that India has become a ray of hope in this era of global turmoil, stressing on the role of artificial intelligence, AI, in today's world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that India has double AI, aspirational India, along with artificial intelligence, which can do wonders for the world.
इसी साल भारत ने इंडिया एआई मिशन शुरू किया है। हेल्थ केयर हो, एजुकेशन हो, स्टार्टअप्स हो, भारत हर सेक्टर में एआई का उपयोग बढ़ा रहा है। हम दुनिया को भी बेहतर एआई सॉल्यूशंस देने में जुटे हैं। क्वाड के स्तर पर भी भारत ने कई सारे इनिशिएटिव लिए हैं। भारत दूसरे एआई यानी एस्पिरेशनल इंडिया को लेकर भी उतना ही गंभीर है।
The Indian Prime Minister noted that the country is advancing on an unprecedented scale in all sectors.
125 डेज में गरीबों के लिए 3 करोड़ नए पक्के घरों को मंजूरी मिली है। 125 डेज में हमने 9 लाख करोड़ रुपए के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट पर काम शुरू किया है। 125 डेज में हमने 15 नई वंदे भारत ट्रेनें चलाई हैं। 8 नए एयरपोर्ट पे के काम शुभारंभ हुए हैं। इन्हीं 125 डेज में हमने युवाओं के लिए 2 लाख करोड़ रुपए का पैकेज दिया है। हमने किसानों के बैंक खातों में 21,000 करोड़ रुपए सीधे ट्रांसफर किए हैं। हमने 70 साल से अधिक के बुजुर्गों के लिए 5 लाख रुपए तक के मुफ्त इलाज की व्यवस्था की है। आप भारत में हो रहे काम का दायरा देखिए। 125 डेज में 5 लाख घरों में रूफटॉप सोलर प्लांट लगाए गए हैं।
Prime Minister Modi stated that stability, sustainability and solutions are crucial for a better future of the humanity, with India striving to address them. The Indian Prime Minister also emphasized that citizens' support to the government in its 3rd consecutive term sends a strong message of stability.
स्टेबिलिटी, सस्टेनेबिलिटी और सॉल्यूशंस, ये मानवता के बेहतर भविष्य के लिए सबसे जरूरी शर्तें हैं और भारत आज यही प्रयास कर रहा है। इसमें भारत की जनता का एक निष्ठ समर्थन है। 6 दशक में पहली बार देश के लोगों ने किसी सरकार को लगातार तीसरी बार अपना जनादेश दिया है। ये मैसेज स्टेबिलिटी का है, अभी हरियाणा में चुनाव हुए हैं, इन चुनावों में भी भारत की जनता ने स्टेबिलिटी के इस भाव को और मजबूती दी है.
DD India's Vishal Barrister joins us live on the story now. Vishal, hi. Tell us first about what was said about double AI.
Well, a very good afternoon to you. Yes, a double AI is very interesting. Prime Minister said that the world would be wondering what is double AI. Double AI stands for the aspirational India along with the artificial intelligence. Prime Minister said, addressing the world, that India is the youngest country on the globe, and with the aspirations of 1.4 billion people along with artificial intelligence can do wonders at a time when the world is worried about the worry itself. After the pandemic, there are a lot of worries. How will the stock markets behave? What will happen to the supply chain? What would be the result as far as this pandemic on the demand and supply is there? And that is why India is developing, and it is already a fifth largest economy, and also the Sensex and Nifty are growing at the pace of 7%. So India is giving hope to the world that even in this times of darkness, when there is where there are wars going on across the world, India is moving along with its aspiration and also carrying along the world, and the world is very happy and not jealous with India's progress, simply because India sees its progress in inclusive growth of the world. That is what Prime Minister meant by the artificial intelligence along with the aspirational India.
Okay, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi also raising the bar when he said the metric to success won't be with the past from now onwards, but with our dream to be developed by 2047.
Well, absolutely. He said that India being a democratic country, there has been this long-going thing that every government used to compare its achievements with the previous one. But we are not going to do that, because we are on the path towards achieving a developed nation by 2047. So we are not looking back. India is looking ahead, and our time is our race is against the time, and we are not going to rest. I am not here to take rest, because people are asking me that you have done so much for the country. You have already made India the fifth largest economy, and India is progressing very fast. So it is time to take rest. But the Prime Minister said that I am not here to take rest, because my path is leads me towards the goal of 2047, and India aspires to become a developed nation by 2047. So we are looking ahead. We are not looking behind. What has happened in the past, what achievements India made, it is already there. But now we have to look ahead, and we have to work continuously 24/7 towards achieving that goal.
Thank you, Vishal, for those updates. Vishal Barrister reporting from the NDTV World Summit in New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Russia to attend the 16th BRICS Summit on October 22nd, 23rd. The summit, themed Strengthening Multilateralism for Just Global Development and Security, will provide an important platform for leaders to discuss key global issues. The summit will offer a valuable opportunity to assess the progress of initiatives launched by BRICS and to identify potential areas for future collaboration. During his visit, the Prime Minister is also expected to hold bilateral meetings with his counterparts from BRICS member countries and invited leaders in Kazan. The 2024
PM Modi's visit to Kremlin marks a significant chapter in the long-standing relationship between India and Russia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin convened for the 22nd annual bilateral summit, underscoring the deep ties between the two nations. India reiterated a clear policy of dialogue and diplomacy to end the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
शांति की बहाली में भारत हर संभव सहयोग करने के लिए तैयार है, और आपका भी सानुकूल विचार सुनकर के मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई, और मैं भी आपको भी आश्वस्त करता हूं और विश्व समुदाय को भी आश्वस्त करता हूं कि भारत शांति के पक्ष में।
So the 2024 BRICS summit is being hosted by Russia in the city of Kazan, where the concept of multipolarity will take center stage in discussions between member nations. Jessica Taneja of DD India reports from the city's cultural center, which highlights Kazan's unique identity as a symbol of cultural diversity and historical significance.
As Russia's most multicultural city, Kazan is home to over 150 nationalities. symbolizing peaceful coexistence among various cultures, ethnic groups and religions. The diversity reflects the broader values of BRICS, where nations from different parts of the world will come together to address common challenges. The city stands as a powerful symbol of unity amidst diversity, showcasing Russia's affluence and its unique blend of Eastern and Western influences. A notable landmark in Kazan is the Kul-Sharif Mosque, which holds deep historical and cultural significance. Originally built during the time of Kazan Khanate, the mosque was destroyed in 1552 but later reconstructed to honor its legacy. Built by Muslim cleric Kul Sharif many centuries ago, this historic and architectural ensemble is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In fact, this is one of the largest mosques in Europe, and it houses some of the most ancient scriptures that we've seen so far. The 1,000-year-old Kazan Kremlin, where the mosque is located, continues to be a major center for Tatar culture and spiritual life within Russia. Its historical importance as the bridge between cultures and its status as a center of multiculturalism enhance its role as the host city for BRICS Summit. Kazan was selected not only because of its multicultural identity, but also due to its symbolic representation of multipolarity and peaceful coexistence. The city's blend of Eastern and Western influences, coupled with history of harmonious inter-ethnic and inter-religious relations, its selection underscores the city's role as a center of dialogue between diverse nations and as a symbol of cooperation and understanding across cultures. Jessica Taneja, with video journalist Shailendra Chauhan for DD India.
Meanwhile, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has cancelled his trip to Russia following medical advice after hurting his head in an accident at home. In a statement, the presidential office said Lula will now participate in the BRICS summit via video conferencing. The diplomatic forum, founded 15 years ago by major emerging markets, Brazil, Russia, India, China, has since expanded to include South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran and the United Arab Emirates. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that his country believes that India, Brazil and African countries should be represented in the UN Security Council on a permanent basis to ensure the representativeness of the global majority. This was stated by state-owned TASS news agency on Sunday. Lavrov said that countries such as India, Brazil, as well as representatives of Africa should have been on a permanent basis in the Security Council for a long time, adding that it is necessary to ensure representation of the global majority. The top Russian diplomat made this statement during an interview as per Russian news agency TASS. On to the US presidential race now. US Vice President Kamala Harris celebrated her 60th birthday on the campaign trail, while Donald Trump was seen cooking fries at a joint of McDonald's, where he threw a jab at Harris, saying that she never worked there, as her campaign claims. The fight is very close now. Let's see more in Antra Sinha's report.
Go ahead, let's go nice and loud.
With little time remaining, to be precise, just 15 days until Election Day, the US presidential election 2024, the campaigns of candidates, particularly Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris and Republican frontrunner and former US President Donald Trump, are in full swing as they aim to fortify their positions with the electorate. Amidst the strategic aspect of campaigning, a softer outlook was also seen among both the candidates as Vice President Kamala Harris celebrated her 60th birthday and Donald Trump was seen working at McDonald's. US Vice President Kamala Harris said she was truly blessed after superstar Stevie Wonder sang his famous Happy Birthday song on the Democratic presidential candidate's 60th birthday at a campaign event. Harris urged a black congregation in Jonesboro, Georgia, to vote in the final stretch of a knife-edge election battle with Donald Trump.
We have to remind people the power they have in spite of those that would try to diminish and make people feel powerless.
On the other hand, former President and 2024 Republican US presidential candidate Donald Trump went to a McDonald's in suburban Philadelphia on Sunday and tried working French fries station and drive-through window.
Well, that's a good owner. Must be a wealthy guy, huh? Thank you very much. Well, I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's, but I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So, if you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
Trump removed his suit jacket, put on a black and yellow apron, and proceeded to cook batches of French fries. The photo op turned into a news conference with journalists outside, yelling questions at Trump through the window.
Now I have worked at McDonald's. I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala. Okay, she never worked here.
Will you accept the results of the election?
Yeah, sure. If it's a fair election, always. I would always accept it if it's got to be a fair election.
The 2024 US presidential elections, which will be the 60th quadrennial elections, is scheduled for November 5th. With early voting underway in swing states in the US and campaigning in its last leg, the contest between the two leaders remains too close. Antara Sinha for DD India.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Prabowo Subianto takes over the mantle as Indonesia's 8th president. South Korean and UK foreign ministers call for enhanced security cooperation in Seoul. And Russia attacks Ukrainian forces in multiple places. Ukraine hits Russia's military airport and a factory.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. So as the date for the US presidential election nears, campaigning for the election has heated up. Former US President and 2024 presidential candidate Donald Trump and Vice President and presidential candidate Kamala Harris are going all out to woo the voters. Both candidates are now campaigning in Pennsylvania, trading bitter attacks at each other. Pennsylvania's 19 electoral votes tie it with Illinois for the 5th most among all states. And with 10 of the past 12 presidential election winners having won Pennsylvania, it could prove to be a bellwether for the race's ultimate outcome. And now let's go over to DD India's Amritpal Singh, who joins us with more from Pennsylvania. Amrit, as hectic campaigning by Trump and Harris is on in the swing states, especially the state of Pennsylvania, as it emerged as a key battleground state for both the candidates, it seems like a must-win for both candidates if they want to make it to the White House.
Oh, absolutely. It's a must-win for both the candidates, and Pennsylvania has emerged as a cliffhanger, really. It's a tough contest for both candidates, though the Democrats are banking on the blue wall of Michigan, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. But it's not easy for Kamala Harris because Trump is giving her competition in all the 3 states. If you look at the percentage point difference between the two candidates, it's negligible given the margin of error. In fact, the last time around it was so Donald Trump had taken Pennsylvania, but just by 1 percentage point. And I mean, I'm talking about 2016, and in 2020 he lost it again by just a very narrow margin. things remain the same. In fact, it only gets too interesting. He's starting a bus tour from October 21st to see that he can go around. In fact, he was dressed as McDonald's outside a Fry station franchisee in Pennsylvania. He was trying to woo the voter there. So both candidates have their supporters there. Both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, have their supporters. And this time, given that the contest is so close, it's really a toss-up between the two. It has emerged as a must-win, given the number of votes that it has. 19 votes it contributes to the Electoral College. In fact, it tops the chart when it comes to the number of votes amongst the 7 swing states. So Penn State is really, really important for both the candidates, and that's why we are trying to we are seeing the kind of effort, the kind of money that's going into campaigning. In fact, according to some pollsters, of all the money spent in the campaigning for these elections, $1 out of $4 has gone to Penn State or Pennsylvania. So that signifies the importance, or speaks about the kind of importance it holds for both candidates, and that's why you see hectic campaigning by both candidates in these states and the other swing states.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much, Amritpal Singh. So DD India is closely following the electoral trail in the United States. My colleague Shubhendu Ghosh is in New York. He scans through some of the prominent newspapers and takes us through the latest developments in the political contest for the White House.
I am on the banks of East River in New York, and behind me you can see the characteristic high-rises skyline of the city. Let's scan through some of the big election stories as they've appeared in the newspapers today. Let's begin with the New York Times. On the front page, it says Trump banks on migration as the main issue. He believes certain 2016 strategies, but that's when he won, will work again. There is a reference to his Atlanta public meeting where he, very visually moving manner, spoke about the dangers of unregulated immigration, and Trump goes on to say that immigration is the #1 issue of 2024 elections. Beats out the economy, beats out all to me, it's not even close. He also says that United States, in reference to immigration, the illegal immigration, says is an occupied country, but on 5th of November 2024, that will be Liberation Day in America. 5th of November is the election day. So Donald Trump putting his weight behind the issue that he thinks will work wonders for him. Moving on, a story from the perspective of the Democrats. To win, Kamala Harris needs to do what Hillary Clinton, couldn't do in the pro-Trump areas. The reference is to the key swing state of Pennsylvania, Beaver County in particular. The article says how Barack Obama, his running mate Joe Biden when he was running for presidency, and Kamala Harris this time, each one of them have put in great energy in convincing the voters, the electorate, that they are the best people to lead the country. So the next paper we are picking up is the Daily News. There's an article about the manner in which former President Barack Obama is doing all he can to woo the voters on behalf of Kamala Harris. The editorial reads, Bam Wright said it wrong. Don't vote for Kamala Harris because she's black, but because she's facing dawn. That's the principal argument that Barack Obama is making in Pittsburgh at a campaign event. Expresses concerns that black men may not be feeling the idea of having women as president, and you're coming up with other alternatives and reasons for that. After some polls suggested that Kamala Harris' support is waning among black men, Obama, the nation's first black president, hit the campaign trail to admonish the disillusion in the best possible manner that he could. But those were some of the highlights of the election stories in the newspapers. With camera person S. Jaishankar, Shubhendu Ghosh in New York for DD India.
Moldovans headed to the polls on Sunday to vote in the presidential election and a referendum on whether the country should join the European Union. Preliminary results showed the election heading for a tight runoff and an EU referendum going to the wire. With more than 97% of the ballots counted, 50% of the Moldovans voted yes in a referendum on the country's EU aspirations. 11 candidates are competing for the presidency, but 2 have emerged as front-runners. Moldova incumbent President Maya Sandu had almost 42% of the vote at the presidential election, while her main rival, former Prosecutor General Alexander Stoianoglu, had over 26%, setting the stage for a November 3 runoff. The vote goes to a runoff if no candidate clears the 50% mark. Newly elected Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto officially was sworn in his cabinet on Monday with over 100 ministers and deputies and 48 ministries. Taking over as the country's 8th president, Prabowo's cabinet reflects the continuity of his predecessor's main policies. 2 of the ministers were reappointed, with Mulyani Indrawati as finance minister again and Bahlil Lala Dalia as the energy minister. On to West Asia now. Israel has intensified its operations in Lebanon. Several strikes were reported against dozens of facilities and sites used by Hezbollah on Monday. The IDF released a video conducting strikes in the areas of Beirut, southern Lebanon and deep within the Lebanese territory. Earlier, Israel targeted Hezbollah-associated financial branches. The buildings linked to Hezbollah's funding networks were severely damaged in the Bekaa Valley region. The Hezbollah-linked financial institution has more than 30 branches across Lebanon, including 15 across central Beirut and its suburbs. Prior to the strikes, Israeli military issued a warning to residents to evacuate from areas close to Al-Qard Al-Hassan facility.
We will attack a large number of targets in the coming hours and further targets during the night. In coming days, we will also expose how Iran has financed the terror activities of Hezbollah and used civilian institutions, associations and NGOs as cover for their terror operations. We will attack them during the night and we will update in due course on the outcome in coming days.
Meanwhile, large explosions were seen near Beirut's international airport, which is the main entry point of humanitarian assistance to the country and a major evacuation hub for those fleeing the conflict. A plane from Dubai landed at the airport in the early hours of Monday, about 30 to 40 minutes after the huge blasts rang out in the vicinity of the airport. Hezbollah also fired several rocket salvos at Israeli troops across the border. Meanwhile, trucks carrying humanitarian aid crossed the border from Israel into the Gaza Strip on Monday through the Erez crossing. In a letter to Israeli officials last week, United States of America had demanded concrete measures to address the humanitarian situation in Gaza or face potential restrictions on military aid. In another update, nearly 1 lakh children were vaccinated against the polio virus on Sunday. With this, over 235,000 children have received vaccination in southern Gaza so far. And on to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So as the conflict continues, both countries are carrying on with their fight with each other. Ukrainian officials claim that Russia attacked the Ukrainian capital Kiev with several waves of drones for the second night in a row, damaging residential buildings and injuring at least 1 civilian on Monday. While the Ukrainian military said air defenses downed 59 out of 116 Russian drones launched overnight. The military lost track of 45 drones that likely fell into Ukrainian territory. Russia said that its military launched attacks on the Ukrainian army at multiple places on Sunday, while Ukraine claimed that it struck a military airport and a factory of Russia. The Russian Defense Ministry said in a briefing that the Russian army hit Ukrainian forces and clusters of manpower and military hardware in 131 areas and repelled the Ukrainian armed forces trying to enter the Kursk Oblast. The Defense Ministry of South Korea condemned North Korea's illegal involvement in Ukraine, urging an immediate halt. Few days ago, South Korea's spy agency had said that North Korea had shipped 1,500 Special Forces troops to Russia's Far East for training, likely to be deployed in combat in the war in Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky also had mentioned of Pyongyang preparing to send 10,000 soldiers to Russia, calling for a strong reaction on North Korea's increasing involvement in the war in Ukraine. On the other hand, Kremlin has dismissed South Korea's assertions that North Korea may have sent military personnel to help Russia against Ukraine.
North Korea's involvement in Russia's invasion war is a violation of UN resolutions and should be condemned as an illegal act by the international community. Furthermore, it poses a serious threat to our national security and the safety of our people. We strongly condemn North Korea's action and sternly warn them to halt immediately. Our military will take necessary measures to safeguard the safety of our people.
Meanwhile, during a meeting in Seoul, South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-gyul called for enhanced security cooperation with visiting UK Foreign Minister David Lammy on Monday. Still to come on DD India News Hour. World's biggest nature protection conference, COP16, to the UN Convention on Biological Diversity begins in Cali, Colombia. India's Home Minister Amit Shah pays tribute to martyred police personnel in New Delhi on Police Commemoration Day.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. A quick look at the headlines we're tracking at this hour. India is powered by another AI, that is Aspirational India, says Prime Minister Modi at the NDTV World Summit 2024 in New Delhi. And let's go across to the Ministry of External Affairs briefing on the BRICS Summit to be held in Kazan.
So over to you. Thank you, Randhir. Namaskar. Good afternoon to all of you. As Randhir has mentioned, and as you would have seen from last week's press release by the Ministry, the Prime Minister will be departing for Kazan tomorrow to attend the 16th BRICS Summit at the invitation of President Vladimir Putin. The theme of this edition of the summit is strengthening multilateralism for just global development and security. As you know, India is a founding member of BRICS and has participated in all of its activities, its initiatives and engagement since its inception. India brings great value to BRICS, and its contributions have played a vital role in shaping BRICS efforts in areas such as economic growth, sustainable development, and global governance reform. We place a great deal of importance on our involvement and our activities within the BRICS Forum, as we view it as a key expression of global multipolarity. BRICS also serves for us as a vital platform to tackle a range of global challenges, while also contributing to the shaping of a fairer, more exclusive and open international order. This year's summit, the 16th edition in Kazan, has as its focus the integration of new BRICS members into BRICS cooperation mechanisms, also strengthening economic cooperation, promoting cooperation for energy and food security, promoting cooperation in a host of areas related to science, healthcare, environmental protection, culture, sports, youth exchanges, and civil society. As you would be aware, this is the first summit that will be taking place after the first ever expansion of BRICS last year at the Johannesburg summit. So this summit will be attended by the founding members as well as the new members. Just to give you an idea very briefly of the program of the summit begins on October 22. This is the day of welcome, and there is a leaders only dinner on the evening of the first day. The main day of the summit is on the 23rd of October, and there are two main sessions, a closed plenary in the morning, followed by an open plenary in the afternoon, devoted to the main theme of the summit. The leaders are also expected to adopt the Kazan declaration, which will lay the path forward for BRICS. This document is presently being negotiated in Kazan. The BRICS summit ends on the 24th of October. However, the Prime Minister, on account of pressing commitments back home, will return to New Delhi on the 23rd of October itself. But on the 24th, the summit will conclude with the BRICS Plus or the outreach session, where a number of countries have been invited by the chair. This session is focused on BRICS and the Global South, building a better world together. And it will have participation by the BRICS leaders who are there and these invited countries. I believe that about 28 heads of state and government and 5 international organizations will be participating in the outreach summit. The Indian delegation for the outreach summit will be led by Dr. S. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister. On the sidelines of the summit, the Prime Minister is expected to have a few bilateral meetings. These are presently being worked out, and we will keep you updated on these meetings as they evolve. Just a special word about the city where the summit is being held. Kazan is the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan in Russia. It's the 5th largest city in Russia and a major cultural and educational center. We have around 1,000 Indian students in Kazan, and some of you may recall that during the visit of the Prime Minister to Russia in July, we had indicated our intention to open an Indian consulate in Kazan. Let me stop there, and I'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay. So, Yeshi, first.
Good afternoon. This is Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. So we've already read that there's going to be a bilateral between PM Modi and President Putin. Is there any bilateral expected with the Chinese president? And secondly, how many countries have approached India for considering to become BRICS members?
Manas.
So this is Manas from PTI. There is expectation that, yes, you also asked the same question. There is an expectation that PM Modi may meet Chinese President Xi Jinping. We already have 2 rounds of WMCC talks in the last 2 months. And then the statements that were put out after the WMCC were seen as positive forward movement by both sides to resolve the long pending issues. So can we expect anything on that?
सर, नीरज न्यूज 18 इंडिया से ईरान के राष्ट्रपति के साथ क्या बायलैटरल होगी वहां? इस तरह की कोई प्रस्ताव है ईरान की तरफ से या भारत की तरफ से?
Hi, Smita Sharma here. During the last visit of the Prime Minister, in his bilaterals with President Putin, the issue of Indians fighting in Russia was raised. Since then, if you could give us an update on how many Indians have actually returned, and a specific request, because there are people from Azamgarh in a village called Chandrapar, where at least 2 men have died whose dead bodies have come back, 2 men have returned, but around 10 people are still there in Russia, and the villagers are asking MEA and the government to help them out and raise this issue during the bilaterals. So if you could please comment on this in both English and Hindi.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think many of you have questions about bilateral meetings on the sidelines, and in particular, a possible bilateral meeting between the Prime Minister and the President of China. Some of these questions are particularly timely, and in a sense, it's also appropriate that I have the opportunity now to share with you. I can share with you that over the last several weeks, Indian and Chinese diplomatic and military negotiators have been in close contact with each other in a variety of forums. And as a result of these discussions, agreement has been arrived at on patrolling arrangements along the line of actual control in the India-China border areas, leading to disengagement and a resolution of the issues that had arisen in these areas in 2020. And we will be taking the next steps on this. As far as the questions on a bilateral meeting are concerned, as you know, and as I said earlier as well, this is a multilateral event, though of course there is always a provision for bilateral meetings on the sidelines. We are currently looking into the overall program of the Prime Minister. There are a number of requests for bilateral meetings, and we will update you on the bilaterals as they evolve as soon as feasible. I think the same goes for all the other questions that have been posed with regard to the bilaterals with different countries.
Can you clarify that we have achieved agreement with China only?
We have reached an agreement on the issues that were being discussed. I think Yeshi had a question on the countries that have approached India for membership. There are several countries, but as you know, the issue of countries that will acquire partner status possibly as a result of discussions at BRICS. These discussions are still going on and they have not yet been finalized, so it would not be appropriate for me to discuss publicly as to which are the countries and which may be the candidates and which member state might have nominated which other country. I think there is just a little bit more time to go, so you will know all very soon. Smita, आपका जो प्रश्न है भारतीय नागरिक जो जिनका रूसी सेना में जिनकी भर्ती की गई वैध या अवैध तरीकों से, हमारी जो अभी तक की सूचना है उसके अनुसार करीब 85 भारतीय नागरिक भारत लौट आए हैं. जैसा आपने कहा, दुर्भाग्यवश उसमें कुछ नागरिक ऐसे हैं जिनको अपनी जान वहां पे गंवानी पड़ी और उनके मृत शव वापस लौटाए गए. हमारी सूचना के अनुसार अभी भी करीब 20 भारतीय नागरिक हैं जिनका रूसी सेना से, जिनको अभी डिस्चार्ज होना है रूसी सेना से, और हमारे लोग जो हैं, हमारे राजदूतावास के जो अधिकारीगण हैं, वे रूसी विदेश मंत्रालय से और रूसी रक्षा मंत्रालय से लगातार संपर्क में हैं और जल्द से जल्द हमें आशा है कि सभी भारतीय नागरिक वापस भारत लौट आएंगे. Just to mention in English, we have been in very close touch with our interlocutors in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Defense of Russia on this issue of Indians who were illegally or otherwise contracted into fighting in the Russian army. This matter was taken up at the highest levels, including by the Prime Minister with President Putin. Our understanding at the present moment, as per present information, is that about 85 people have returned from Russia. Unfortunately, we've also had the return of some mortal remains of people who lost their lives during the conflict. Our understanding is that nearly 20 people still remain, and we are pressing our interlocutors for the early discharge of all remaining Indians in the armed forces there.
Take more questions. Huma, please.
Sir, I'm Huma Siddiqui from the Financial Express. I just wanted to check, earlier in this year in June, there was a proposal which has been discussed with the BRIC members regarding the BRIC Space Council. So if you have any update on that. Space Council. And also there are talks of sharing data on national space phenomena, including asteroids. So if this will be discussed when the Prime Minister is there.
A friend there.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Alexei from the Russian newspaper. So I have two questions. The first one, what is the vision of India of future of BRICS, taking into account the growing amount of countries applying for membership and the world polarization? In your opinion, whether it should be reformed somehow, the organization BRICS in the future, what should be its mission and the strategical tasks? And the second one, does India expect any historical decisions during this summit? For example, creating a joint currency or something like that? Thank you.
Rishabh?
Foreign Secretary, good afternoon. This is Rishabh from Times Now. I just wanted to understand what will be India's stand given the situation in West Asia. We have members from West Asia also joining in as members and invitee as well. And what will be the step forward for India when it comes to Russia-Ukraine conflict, given that between last bilateral with President Putin and this, Prime Minister has already visited Ukraine as well as the United States.
Sudhi?
Sir, Shudhiranjan from Bloomberg, sir. Sir, if you could clarify what you announced just now, is it a patrolling issue that is being resolved with China, or the border standoff, so to say, has been resolved? And two, sir, we understand that there is going to be some discussion on a BRICS currency, which is a float of currencies, also about 40% pegged to the gold. This is what we are getting to hear. If you could give us some clarity on that, sir.
I think, Huma, on your question related to a BRICS Space Council, what I have for you is that recently BRICS countries have signed an agreement on remote sensing satellite cooperation to jointly address challenges pertaining to climate change, natural disasters and environmental protection. Through the space vertical, the intention is to essentially foster economic cooperation and discussions on a number of other specific areas, including the one that you have mentioned about a space council or cooperation regarding data on asteroids, are ongoing. I don't have any specific details to offer on this at the present moment, but I'll ask my colleagues to come back to you with more specific details on this particular issue. With regard to the question on the future of BRICS and in view of international developments and what the mission and the task of BRICS should be, I would say that, look at the context in which BRICS came together and how BRICS cooperation has been shaped along its three primary verticals, which is political and strategic cooperation, economic and commercial cooperation, and cultural and people-to-people cooperation. I think going ahead into the future, while each of these verticals becomes more and more populated, I think these will remain the main axes of action by BRICS, and we will continue to see, as far as India is concerned, our role in BRICS as an important voice in the growing debate around the world on multipolarity, on the need for global governance reform, whether it is reform of the institutions related to peace and security, such as the UN Security Council, or whether it is related to the reform of the international financial architecture, the IMF and other similar organizations, or indeed the trade architecture, such as the WTO. These would, to my mind, form the primary mission and task of BRICS, both the existing founding members who've been at it for several years and the new members who have joined now. As to whether there will be any historic decisions at the coming summit, I think I leave that to the deliberations of the leaders. I would not want to preempt such decisions. I think we have to wait for the summit to complete its work to learn of the historic decisions. Rishabh, your question on West Asia. Look, our stance on West Asia has been consistent and firm over a long period of time. Insofar as developments over the last 1 year are concerned, we have unreservedly and explicitly condemned acts of terrorism. At the same time, as the conflict has grown and, in a sense, expanded, we have called for a ceasefire, a release of hostages. There is a particularly serious humanitarian situation which has developed, and we have accordingly called for a humanitarian corridor for access to humanitarian aid and the aid to be able to get to those who are most in need, as also for guarding against an expansion of the conflict that would pull in more and more actors and make the issue even more complicated to resolve. And for that, it is important to get back to dialogue and diplomacy, using whatever resources are available within the region and those of actors from beyond the region as well. Insofar as the issue of one of the most important issues in West Asia is concerned, which is the issue between Israel and Palestine, again, on that our position has been very, very clear. We support an independent state of Palestine living within well-recognized and secure borders at peace side by side with a sovereign state of Israel as its neighbor. On your other question on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, again, I think I've had the opportunity to answer this question from this platform earlier as well. You are aware of the meetings and the discussions that have taken place between Prime Minister and President Putin, as well as President Zelensky. Most recently, the Prime Minister also met President Zelensky in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. We have continued to emphasize our basic approach to the conflict. That war will not resolve these issues. No solutions can be found from the battlefield. For any solution to be found, it is important for all the stakeholders, the relevant stakeholders, to be at the table and for them to discuss this issue directly with each other. As you are aware, the Prime Minister has been in close contact even after his visits to Moscow and Kyiv with leaders from the United States, Russia, as well as Ukraine. And we have continued our contacts at the official level also to try and explore how we can move towards bringing about or finding the contours of an approach that can bring everybody together on an acceptable path towards peace, and we will continue to do that. Shruti, your question on the agreement that has been reached, let me restate what I said earlier. I think what I have said speaks for itself and is fairly clear. There has been, you're aware of the events that took place in 2020 in several areas along the line of actual control. We've been in discussions with Chinese interlocutors, both at a diplomatic level, through the WMCC, as was mentioned earlier as well, and through at the military level as well, through meetings of the military commanders at various levels. These discussions had in the past resulted in the resolution of standoffs at various locations. You're also aware that there were a few areas and few locations where the standoff had not been resolved. Now, as a result of the discussions that have taken place over the last several weeks, an agreement has been arrived at on patrolling arrangements along the line of actual control in the India-China border areas, and this is leading to disengagement and eventually a resolution of the issues that had arisen in these areas in 2020. You had another question on a BRICS currency. I must confess that I'm not aware of the floating of a card, but I am aware that there have been discussions on payment systems, settlement systems and payment systems, and there has been a number of discussions between our financial authorities. This is, I think, being discussed in the finance minister's track and the central bank governor's track as well. My understanding is that no final agreements have been arrived at as yet, but there have been intense discussions. There has been a certain amount of research that has been commissioned on these issues. Some papers have also been produced for the consideration of the different members. I think we are still in the stage where some work needs to be done. Yes, fundamentally, I think it is a fact that the countries have stressed the importance of the use of local currencies for settlement purposes, especially as it comes to or as it pertains to trade. So strengthening of correspondent banking networks amongst the BRICS partners and enabling settlements in local currencies is being encouraged. In the first stage, there is emphasis on doing this on a bilateral basis, and once there is greater certainty and experience that is gained, to move on it on a multilateral basis as well. Questions? Yeah, I think I have.
With that, we come to the close of this session. Thank you very much for your... Sorry? We can talk about those things.
So that was Ministry of External Affairs of India's special briefing on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Russia for the 16th BRICS summit on October 22nd, 23rd. Prime Minister Modi will be heading for the summit tomorrow. The summit is themed Strengthening Multilateralism for Just Global Development and Security. So the BRICS summit at Kazan will provide an important platform for leaders to discuss key global issues. We are wrapping up this broadcast now. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. So we'll be back. For watching. Namaskar.